Police officer resets after violent incident. This graph is interesting. It's a police officer who is hooked up to a HeartMath sensor, and the graph is showing us, it says violent incident, but it's actually a domestic disturbance incident where possibly the husband has beaten his wife. Now, in this graph, the police officer is hooked up to one of these devices, and we can see that the device is measuring the officer's heart rate, but also the variability in the heart rate. And so in the beginning of this graph, what we're looking at is the officer is somewhere between 60 and 80, which is a very nice heart rate and also good variability. Around the beginning there, we see the first spike where it goes up to about 100 or 120, and that is probably where the officer receives the notice or the phone call about the particular domestic disturbance incident. The officer's heart rate starts to climb rapidly. It goes up to 120, 140 when we first see that the officer is preparing to enter the home. The heart rate again, and there's very little variability there. You don't see very long up and down lines. There's small variability, 120 to 140 to 150, where the officer enters the home, questions the battered victim, sees a man with a gun, 150, 160, guns go up, shots fired, cuffing. After the cuffing, the officer's heart rate drops because the event is over. But we now notice that the officer's heart rate does not return to his or her baseline 60 to 80. It's up around 90 to 110. It's an elevated heart rate with lower variability because here is where the incident is a background process. A few minutes later, the officer uses a technique called freeze frame, which is a coherence building technique, to reset. And it takes about 1 or 2 minutes, and we notice that the officer's heart rate instantly drops back down to baseline, 70 to 80. There's a little less variability than when the officer first started monitoring, but eventually it's going to return. Now, we don't necessarily have to experience domestic disturbance incidents like the officer, but we receive angry emails, we have nasty text messages, we have people who say or do hurtful things, and all of these things become background processes that elevate our heart rate and lower our heart rate variability, which is why it is so powerful to have the tools to reset, charge up, and experience a lower heart rate and nice variability.